Hello and welcome to Monday's episode of the Terrace Scottish Football Podcast. I am your host Craig Fowler and I am joined at his lovely flat in Ballgreen, Edinburgh by Tony Anderson.
Hello Craig, are you well?
I'm well. Well,
that's very good to hear.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was going to say, it was a bit kind of, Monday morning kind of, still recovering for the weekend.
Oh yeah.
I was in my bed a bit longer than I was out on. Well, wasn't out. I was drinking in the house on Thursday, and it was one of those ones where you're drinking with somebody else, and then all of a sudden, like fucking hell, house at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
She's probably got to bed now. We have plans tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, just for chilling then.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and then on Saturday we went out with my mum and stepdad, and it wasn't a late one. I think they got a taxi from mine about midnight, but still 2 days on top of each other. And then there was yesterday was a lot of doing nothing except actually she went out for a walk, which is it really shakes off the hangover. However, there was football games to watch, so I didn't go for a walk.
Yeah. I'm enjoying hearing you coming round to these sort of things, like actually not stewing in your own filth. I think it's a self-perpetuating problem.
It does.
I always have a shower now when I'm hungover. Always at least have that, and then I feel like I get up.
See, I can't do the shower thing. It just I shower when I'm hungover makes me feel ill.
Really?
The water would have to be kind of like lukewarm kind of thing.
You can do that.
It's
possible.
Then it's like, what's the point?
I'm not enjoying it enough. Because
it's December in Glasgow.
I done a 2-day out last week because I went out to watch you guys doing the live show, which I enjoyed immensely on Thursday night. Was it Thursday night? Yeah. Even though I had to leave midway through to go for a piss because I was in pain. So I met Rob at like the back of 4. Just finished work, went straight to Diggers and met Rob, and he came over because he was at his girlfriend's house there, and had a pint in there. I done a couple of pints, and I took 2 pints into the gig, and then I drank one of them, and the Mixopallium was on, which was thoroughly enjoyable, but I was literally pincing the end of my penis together. And when I use the word literally, I'm using it in the correct way, like that. And I was like so uncomfortable moving around. I was waiting for someone to actually come over and go, Tony, by the way, is there a chance you can stop moving? And then I turned to Graham, who was doing the
floor manager.
Yeah, the floor manager. Like, I have to go. I have to. And he was like, well, you can't come back in. I was like, I couldn't care fucking less, man. At
this point, it doesn't matter.
Now, I have to go. And then you're going out. They have all the toilets, and some of them were locked because obviously the whole place wasn't in order because they were only using sections of Summer Hall. And I'm just furiously, frantically trying to get around. Like, I don't want to piss myself. Actually, the problem is that everyone in that crowd actually knows who I am as well. It'll be the most embarrassing thing ever. And a whole tale of long embarrassing moments in my life.
Telford actually needed a last minute pee just before we were about to go on, but like you say, because of the way that Summer Hall could have been laid out and stuff, there was a door that they had that was just locked by itself, and I think they'd kept open but about a card. But when we first walked through, one of us like stood on, might have been me actually, just stood on the card. I was like, what's that? And then the door locks behind you and it's like, that's what it is. But Telford's like, can I go to the toilet? It's like, literally, can he open the door and can he find anybody open it? So Telford's just like, I'll just use that as part of the energy.
It was, and then I went on my work day out, Indigo Yard, for like Christmas lunch. Decent turnout for everyone, but I had a lot to drink. Drank about 14 pints over the whole thing. Because I met Chris, obviously, right away. Second, we were allowed to finish at 1. I was gone at 10 to. Straight down the road into Mathers. And I didn't realise that our booking was like 2:30. And my other boss came. He does like 4 pints before. They were 2 in there. And then it's like before even the foods came. And it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. You've had like 5 pints.
It's like a wedding.
We are like that. Us 3 are in the corner. As loud as any and talking shit. But then you don't go because you're like, we've got a lot of young staff, so we started hanging about with them, and then I felt ropey on Saturday, sitting watching the game we're about to talk about, that I had to watch a bit on Wisecow because I forced Mandy to drive me to KFC because we had the car at Hermiston Gate so I could try this stuffing stacker that I've been seeing on the telly all week. And then that was great. It was great. And then I didn't eat for 20 hours after it. It was so full. Didn't eat till after the Hibs game.
Oh, I'd done the same. I'd done the same day. I ate so much yesterday that when I got up this morning, I just wasn't hungry at all. I didn't eat until 3 o'clock today. I barely didn't eat today, but I didn't really eat it.
Fasting thing. They say it's good. I don't know if it's good if I have the largest KFC you've ever seen in your life during that 8 hours that you're meant to eat. I don't know if that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know if it works if I had like 7 meals yesterday.
But yeah, so yeah, I was. In the winter blues today, like Monday, I'm just like, it's here, it's awful. I hate winter.
It took me ages to get out of bed today. Yeah. It was just kind of like, to be fair, I'm working late today, so it doesn't really matter. But like, it was still,
even if you're not working, you can still get up.
Yeah, I can get up and cook something. There's like DIY things I really need to do around the house.
It's not just about work, but just like, you just looking out, you just really didn't want to go out now. It's just the worst. But at least we don't have to play football in it.
That's true. I've actually been thinking of that a few times recently. Like this got to be hellish to run around in that. Like
surely you warm up fast.
I know, but even still,
can you feel your fucking toes in that, man? When you're in the ground, like I learned from Dundee last week, so I went to Dens, and this week I put on a pair of the wee ankle socks, then my socks over the top of that, and it worked. But even still, towards the end, I was starting to feel the burn. So really, everyone get out there and buy thermals. I don't know why the clubs aren't smarter. They should wear they're selling the shit at Christmas, like the stuff that you were doing on the club shop.
Yes.
Sell fucking thermal socks and that. The place people get down to the pub, be like the queue outside the club shop, and you were selling like fucking Hearts thermal socks. People would buy loads of 20. They charge like 25 quid. They would get bought. People are at the heated gloves and all that. Actually sell things that people need rather than fucking advent calendars or fucking badges. Give me something I actually need and I'll buy it.
Or sweeties. Yeah. Sweeties are heart-shaped when you're Aberdeen.
Yeah, beef gelatin in them.
Most sweet, I don't know if people do that. Most sweets have that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like Haribo.
Because I remember you told me that when you first went veggie.
Can't eat Haribo. And I can eat some of them. The cinema's got some, and different cinemas are different. Different cinemas will have some. It's like cherry cola bottles that I like to eat. Mm-hmm. But Cineworld, the one I go to the most, I can't have cherry cola bottles, which is very, very distressing. Anyway, speaking of distress.
Yeah, that would work. 3-3 draw.
3-3 draw. Somebody's in distress.
Yeah.
Goalkeepers, defenders, especially the Dundee defence in the 97th minute.
Oh.
Like, if you're going to concede, so the game we're kicking off with is Motherwell 3, Dundee 3. And if you're going to concede a 97th goal to 10 men away from home as well, this has got to be the worst kind of goal. The kind of goal as a fan that makes you tear your hair out the most. How we basically almost amounts to losing a goal in a counter-attack kind of list. But it's not quite a counter-attack, but that's how it looks. Mm-hmm. Like, I was going to call him Tom Wilkinson. It's will be Tom fucking Wilkinson. Connor Wilkinson with like all the time in the world in the box. It's a nice finish and he does well, but Jesus Christ, you can't be giving somebody that kind of space that late in the match. Well, got a 1-goal lead.
It's exactly the same as Majovski's against Hibs at Hampden, where you feel like, how's it ended up that everyone's up front? But even worse for Dundee, they were winning.
Yes.
So they weren't even just pushing for it, but Wilkinson had a big say in the end of it, and it was a pretty bold call, I think would be fair to say, from at the start from Kettlewell to put him in. I mean, he took off Callum Butcher, who got booked obviously right before half time, and he pushed him into a sort of really attacking midfield role, and it did ask a lot more questions, because towards the first half, after Motherwell had a pretty good start, and I'll go into that in a second, Dundee totally took over the match, and quite a not just like dominating and being on top, just having like real control over everything. And I'm looking forward to talking about Dundee, because it was really, really good for long periods for them.
Yeah, I mean, Butcher, I should probably hold my hands up. I said recently, because I heard Motherwell fans say they don't have a defensive midfielder, and I was like, well, you've got Callum Butcher there, who is like, for the most part of his Scottish football career, that's where he played. Because remember when he first came in and he was a centre-half, and he just kept either getting sent off or like giving away really stupid goals, and it was like, well, he can't play in defence, he's too much of a bomb scare, but he can play in the middle of the park. At 32, maybe he can't play in the middle of the park anymore. Maybe he is now only a centre-half.
Yeah, because when they brought him in purely to be a centre-half.
Did they die?
No, to be a midfielder, because they needed bite in midfield. Then they realised, and they moved him into centre half quite quickly.
Yeah, I think that's maybe right. Yeah,
and now they've put him back into centre midfield. But yeah, he was chasing shadows a bit, and especially with the style of the way Dundee played, not good for a a hatchet man going to get angry against a team playing like that, and he's going to start kicking folk, which is eventually what happened. But Motherwell started really, really well. They sort of, Shaughnessy was getting pulled out wide a lot by Beirith. And Motherwell, I mean, we're not talking about anything that was like extremely smart. They were just playing quick balls in that area, and Beirith was getting a lot of joy. Maybe the first 12 to 15 minutes, and they were getting balls into the box, and they obviously they got their goal, which didn't come from that. But with Abika up there now with Beirith, and Abika's good for this, man. He's a good foil for someone else because he just chucks himself about. He's not sexy at all, but he can be helpful. If you put like a Van Veen or like a Beirith, someone with quality around him, he's going to be a handful. He's going to cause bother. He never just lets a ball lie. He'll always go and challenge for it, and it's a brilliant finish for Big Mika off the post and in. But then just this Dundee team, man, it's really, really good. And it's Tony Docherty, you were thinking he's going to be coming in like the Derek McInnes style.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that.
All out pragmatism.
It's not like that at all. It's really, really, really fluid, the way they play. They keep a lot of possession. They look really, really difficult. And the makeup of the team's really smart because you've got Jordan McGee playing right wing back. He doesn't have loads of pace to go on the outside, but him and Cameron switch all the time. And McGee obviously has had loads of periods in his career where he played inside it in the central midfield role. And then with Cameron, who I was a lot more impressed with in this game than I had in other games, because Rob Borthwick really likes him, and I do feel like hearing conflicting reports about Cameron in his game, but he's young, so I mean, this is probably just the way it is.
Inconsistent.
Yeah, but he's so agile and quick, and he's got loads of energy that when he goes out wide, that's not a problem. He can actually go on the outside there. And it's the same with McCowan and Beck. They can switch all day long, even though the way Beck's so good that allows McCowan really to just be quite high up playing in beside like Bakayoko. And then you've got Boateng where it's so smart because he's just always available. So you're just going back and forward. So they can keep really, really good possession, but it's not sterile. It just means the player who has it in maybe a more wide role in 1.5 spaces, they feel comfortable like looking forward because they know, right, I know Bakayoko's there. I know he's there. Like, that's a guarantee. Sorry, Boateng. I know he's there. I know that's a guarantee. So they can keep moving. And then if that doesn't work right, we'll try again. It can go into a different bit. And then when you've got Bakayoko, who's like a real handful, he drops in. Rudden tries to stretch a bit. I don't want to get into this as a way of really going into Rudden because he's playing a role now at Dundee and he's playing into the system pretty well, and that's why he's getting picked. But if he's someone better, this Dundee team really looks so well balanced and motoring. Because then when you add like Portales in there, he's quite comfortable on the ball, so he comes in on the right hand side, and it really, really just looks really neat and fluid and really hard to play against.
Motherwell, I noticed, so again, it's the second time it's happened recently. I think the St Johnstone game was the other match where Georgie Gent came off the bench and made an impact. Yes, and made an impact again. So he's helping to play the ball towards Wilkinson for their very late equaliser. I think it was the St Johnstone game where he had a part to play in that as well. I think he put in a cross for one of the goals. And so Motherwell are lining up. So they lined up recently against Hearts with Blair Spittle as a left wing back. That makes zero fucking sense, I have to say.
It's also getting one of the only real quality players doing a lot of work.
Yeah. And then it's either that or Brodie. So then Brodie Spencer coming on at halftime. Then Brodie Spencer starts again in this game, and it's just like, so Georgie Gent is not playing because he's not very good defensively. Motherwell are not good defensively.
Yeah.
So how much worse can you really be? They're conceding 3 goals at home. They've conceded 3 goals at home at Dundee and Ross County recently. They conceded 2 away to St Johnstone. They conceded 2 at Hearts, who only score 1 goal per game.
Aberdeen, they conceded 4
Aberdeen, they conceded 4. So the defence is terrible anyway. Why not just have because he's the only left wing back they have who's actually a left wing back. Like, Brodie Spencer is right-footed. If Brodie Spencer starts on the left, he's just always going to have to cut inside.
Plus now, with the makeup of the team, when you've got Beirith and Obika, and I'm going to make an argument for Wilkinson going through that in about 1 second, but having guys who can maybe get some balls into the box naturally from a wide place, I mean, we can make football simple, but to me that sounds quite smart. when you've got guys like that who would be a handful in the air and would be able to divert them. And I liked the Connor Wilkinson thing. I think it worked pretty well, playing that attacking midfield role, because without Lennon Miller at the moment, they don't really have much of a connection that gets them up. Like, the possession doesn't really move into the last third in a nice way. Let's be frank. But when they played the three of them up there together, you can go pretty industrial, and it's not bad because they're going to win it. Three of them together, it's always going to be a handful. You've always got Spittle in and around them who can pick up the second ball. And if he picks it up in space in the last third and he's got these other targets, I mean, again, it's not the sexiest football, but I think it would definitely get results in the Scottish Premiership. And right now, with Kettlewell, results are everything, because the fans have turned it on because he's not won a game for 3 months.
Yeah.
But as an outsider looking in, I look at the results and I can see he's not lost the dressing room whatsoever. They're getting last minute equalisers with 10 men. They're coming back for 2-0 down. I think a couple of times recently against St Johnstone, 3-1 down against Ross County. They obviously managed to go to Parkhead and get a draw, which is difficult. In some difficult circumstances, when they got penalties going against them, they get again. You know, these are all things that if you're no one in 3 months, normally you'd be like, fuck this. You know, people don't play. So it's definitely not lost the dressing room. So maybe just these little touches just to get you a result. And then obviously they can get Lennon Miller back. Maybe they could bring in a bit more football in the future. But I loved Mugabe's goal, the equaliser, because he hits the long banger from 30 yards, which keeper has to save. And then he manages to get the goal, which such a long VAR check for such a nothing. I'm going up for a header, man. Be here all day. But Spittle, what a ball that is. It's such a tantalising ball, and it's so hard to defend. And Spittle just like,
I know this wasn't the case because they probably don't care, but the VAR check felt like people have been moaning that, it's only really Celtic and Rangers when you get these checks for like shut pulls in the box. So it almost felt like they just picked an arbitrary goal. It's like, let's study that to fucking see if we can call it disallowed.
Mate, I mean, I don't want to be here criticising this too much, but that's how human beings react.
Yeah.
When they all feel they're under. So I believe stuff like that does happen. And they might not have went before it, let's check this. They'll just naturally keep on looking, because
naturally be in the back of their heads, goals like this. Maybe if it looks like there maybe is something, maybe they have to study it as opposed to just going, well, let's just play football.
So there's loads of positives for this to take at both sides, but Dundee, I've been really frustrated because the way that they play in that style of play, that possession base, the fluidity of players moving things, when they play against 10 men, that should be able to kill teams. And they've played against 10 men 2 weeks in a row for relatively, well, I mean, in total, probably about, 40 minutes? No longer. I mean, 50 minutes in the last 2 weeks, and they've only got a point to show for it. I'd be disappointed just because I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but for that Dundee team, with that style of play, that should really feed into being able to turn a team with 10 men over.
Right, let's move on to our next game. And this week, I'll just go with the number of goals scored per match. And let's go in that order. So next one will be the game on Sunday. I was going to say the other game on Sunday, but the Motherwell game was on Saturday. The game on Sunday, the early kick-off, St Johnstone against Celtic. St Johnstone getting out to a 1-goal lead, and then Celtic storming back in the last half hour. I was going to, let's see, I practiced this. I actually practiced this. I Googled it, how to pronounce the name, because I didn't watch Sports Scene, so I've not heard their pronunciation of it. And Dialang Jaisime is how they were pronounced. Jaisime? Yeah. There we go, I was too far away. Wait, I did Yasime to start with. That's the right.
What was the first name there?
Dialang.
Shoop, lang, shoop, shoop. What you gonna do, Jaisime? It's a cruel world.
So I watched this game live on Sunday, and Celtic continue to not look very good, it has to be said. Now, yes, they were a lot better. I've read like Celtic's, on Sky they were saying like scintillating in the last half hour. And even Celtic fans saying much first hour dreadful, much better like last half hour. I was still looking at that going, but was it for two absolute fucking brilliant strikes? I don't think Celtic are getting all 3 points. I'm not going to say they don't get anything out of the game, but I don't think they're getting all 3 points.
And even if you look at that, St Johnstone had such a huge chance to draw it back to 2-2 there.
Yeah, so Jay Turner-Cook.
Yeah, that would have turned everything around. And then you are looking at it, it's like, the only reason they've not been beaten there is because of 2 sort of wonder strikes. I wouldn't be convinced by that whatsoever. And if I'm Rangers, I'm starting to get a wee fluttery feeling that maybe there is.
Because they're shy, I know.
They're just too shy. But there's something to be had there. There's something to go and take. Scottish Cup, for example, even if it isn't, but even get for Clement, even being able to put together a proper title race right now. If he was able to get that back down into 4 points or something like that ilk, that would look really good for him going into next season. And Rodgers, they're more than willing to go for him. The Celtic fans, they can create something going into next season, Rangers, by running them close, winning a few derbies, them being in a shit position that goes into next season where they're in a bit of disarray.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could certainly see it happening, like, but the problem for me is just, I still just think Celtic's a better team. Like, Clement has shown a little bit so far, but not enough that I would say that I still fancy him to win a derby over Rodgers. And then you talk about, well, you get to January, Clement will want to bring his own players in. Rangers will probably free up enough purse strings for him to bring in one or two. But then Celtic are probably going to spend money as well, because their fans aren't happy with it. And I think Rodgers aren't really happy with the state of that squad at the moment. As tell by the fact that they got better in this game, and they did get better in this game, by bringing on Mikey Johnston.
And James Forrest.
Yes.
As always.
I didn't see anything from Mikey Johnston to say he should be I'm going to revise my opinion at all, that he definitely should not be a Celtic player in 2023. The fact he's still there is pretty wild and damning over how kind of Celtic have
dealt with recruitment.
Dealt with recruitment at the kind of beyond the initial 12, 13, 14 players they have, which are very good and is a sign of great recruitment, but they've not been so great at kind of filling out, especially this past summer when you're looking at them bringing in quality in reserve. And really, other than Palma, who else have they brought in? Has been any great? Like, nobody's really come out so far and they've been like, nah, he's a great player.
Definitely not. Yang's got loads to prove.
Yang was pish in the first half.
Yeah, Nat Phillips hasn't really had any kicking. I mean, to go from being the reserve at Liverpool, only playing in emergencies, to only being broken and used in emergencies for Celtic, I wouldn't be too happy with that. But, and then Iwata, Bernardo's done nothing. I watched him at Easter Road and I thought he was woeful. He just never took part in the game. But yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of the fringe players, Forrest, and Mickey Johnson all made a big difference in this game.
And is an interesting one, and it's something I know you wanted to talk about. Is it just the time? Is it a time to maybe play a different kind of system, or is it time to actually drop Kyogo? Because the way that Rodgers is using Kyogo, he's better playing if that's how he wants to play.
Yeah, because it works so well with the press in front, because Kyogo works his socks off, and then his movement, if you suffocate teams and kill them, it's the way you need that movement in the box, and he would always be able to play in between the posts, because Celtic would just have so many runners coming wide, so many options going at the ball. But sometimes now it looks like sometimes it's just it's only really Kyogo in the box at times. Yeah. I'm not really convinced, and that doesn't really.
And he's having to drop deep far too much than he should. I mean, he's a decent enough technical footballer. He's got a very, very good first touch, which is when he first was signed by Celtic, and he's like, oh, this is a very kind of slight forward. I was like, not sure that's going to work. As soon as I saw him playing, I was like, just saw his first touch, I was like, I think he'll be fine. So he can do it coming deep, but it's just a waste of his talents.
And the huge issue for him, and the huge issue for Celtic, when you take Hatate out the team, it's not like you lose two things when you take Hatate out of the team. You lose control of the team. There's nobody. O'Reilly's brilliant and McGregor are brilliant, but I don't think they're not quite. They play with a lot more action, I think, than Hatate. Hatate's much more available. He's more of a string puller, if you like. So you lose that side. But the main thing you lose, which is really affecting Kyogo, is that guy who darts in behind. And they were so good at Celtic, and they were good. The last time I really remember when we thought they'd really motored on was the Hearts game at Tynecastle, and then the Atletico Madrid game. And a feature of the Hearts game especially is Hatate boosting in behind the centre halves and the full backs late, and then someone, O'Reilly with quality, can play balls in behind there. Hatate can go to the byline, cut it back. Who scores? Kyogo. And that was obviously a goal Celtic scored so many times under Ange Postecoglou, and I think none of them do that. Like, Turnbull wants the ball at the edge. O'Reilly doesn't really. He could, and he has done it, but he doesn't do it quite as often as Hatate, when he'll make the burst and run in behind. Like, when nobody's picking him up, he bursts, someone plays a little dig ball into him. And obviously McGregor's always the guy that's playing further back. So I think they miss him in quite a multitude of ways, Hatate, and no one's feeling the burn on that more than Kyogo, because Palma doesn't like to get to the byline. No. Yang doesn't seem to really be going to the byline. So that's really taking away the best things that bring out his movement. But McGregor's goal, That is such a satisfying shot.
Yes. It's like a frustration shot as well. It's like, we're not playing well, we need to go get the ball, get in the fucking net.
Aye. It's absolutely quality, the style of strike that he's got there.
Yeah, aye, and then O'Reilly, just ridiculous.
Aye, man, I'm be doing this now. It's the guy at 5 style when he just gets the ball. He's like, I would need 50 shots to make that just happen. It's been my weaker foot. I'm just going to smash this into the roof of the net for here. And the goalie's got absolute meat off, who was having a really good game, obviously, during that period.
That save he made for Kyogo didn't end up counting for anything because it would have been flagged offside, but that is outstanding goalkeeping. It's an incredible save.
He's a really, really good...
The save for Turnbull in the first half is very good as well.
He's a really good all-round goalkeeper. Meathoff, he doesn't really make any mistakes, which is lucky for a team like St Johnstone. But I mean, do you want to talk about the way that they set up? I mean, it's got him with 3-4-3 on Westgate. I watched it, it was a 5-4-1.
Yes. Jason be up front by himself. He's like, oh, here's Levine. Here's Levine again. The 4-6-0 jokes were out in force before the game.
He's already doing something.
But is this, if they're going to be playing this way, I mean, if you're going to be playing against most teams, Nicky Clark is definitely their best option. But if it's going to be a game where you have to have like this, and like against Rangers, if you're going to have everybody behind the ball for long stretches, has he uncovered something here? Is Jaisime the best option for that? Because he played well,
and he did play well. Yeah, and it wasn't just not just scoring a scrambled goal on the goal, which we'll get to in a second. That actual goal, but he looked like a handful. He was dropping off at times. He was stretching it a bit because you need to do something like that, because you need to have some space for some of your midfielders to get forward a little bit, and he done that quite well. And then wee Max, he was all right. He was getting the ball forward. It's such an uninspiring team. People always say, I've got a bit of an idea that people, to Johnson fans, think I'm like a bitter about them, but I'm assuming because of the double. But it's just a boring team.
Yeah.
I really am, and it's just really fucking boring team. And but where does it leave Stevie May, Fowler? If you can get in to do the donkey running with pace, dragging players wide, trying to hold up and being a fighter, if that's now not you, what is your possible role?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a role he has one left at this level. I actually said that.
We've been through this before.
Yeah, I said he should have gone down. He should have gone down the leagues, and I think did I do this on the terrace once? I can't even, like the TV show, that he should have gone down and should have signed for Falkirk. Just started bagging in the goals again. Maybe just needs that and just come back.
But do we have something with Jaisime? I'm assuming when they're playing other teams, they might go back to a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
Jaisime and Clark.
Maybe when Clark's fit again.
Because Jaisime is again doing the running, which was always the thing with Clark and May. But Jaisime is probably quicker than May still. Maybe he has unlocked something that like makes him, because Jaisime was pish before, like pish when you watched them. And but I always think loads of players that see if they're not great at like. Sometimes if they want to try things, Eliu and being the one for Hibs, I prefer them up front, where they do it and they buy a yard. And Jaisime looked like he had a bit about that. Whereas if you play him in the wide, I think they've used him in the wing back role a few times, but it's like it's too dangerous if he's not like if he's not like cute enough with the ball and or he's going to try things or he's going to dribble. And he's maybe not too
especially if your team mindset is organisation and defensive solidity and stuff like that.
It's just not going to work. But yeah, fair play to, I mean, they're already reaping the rewards of like Levine just being really, really organised. And that's exactly, it was a smart managerial one for them to go to, because they don't have any money, St Johnstone. They're trying to sell. They don't have a lot of flair players. So you've only got one route to go down, and it's the organisational route. And Levine's really, really good at doing that. So in terms of their board, you're going to have a boring time, but in terms of their board, it's smart, and they'll probably be able to stay up and back here. And I had them gone.
Yeah, I think everybody had them gone.
So yeah, I think he's done. I think it's become a really quite smart move that they made.
Let's move on to our third game. This is the first match to have 2 goals in it. However, it should have had about 12.
Oh,
Hibs
where we're going.
To Aberdeen 0. How Hibs got a clean sheet of this one is unbelievable. This was quite something, this game. When Majowski, there's not been anything more certain this season than when Majowski was stood over that ball, about to take that penalty, that he was going to miss that. Absolutely 100% certain.
Brilliant, man.
It must have been, you were there, I take it.
I was,
It must have been quite a laugh.
Yeah. I mean, Davy Marshall, for a start, who's been much maligned and a lot of criticism, deserved criticism, mind you. But I think in terms, before I go on to talking about Aberdeen and obviously Majowski, I think Marshall is just another example of what Montgomery's done best, is get a lot more out of players that you thought were done, or he's improved. Rocky Bashiri's looking really, really strong at left centre half now, in terms of also him coming out with the ball, which was always the biggest issue with him, because he was playing on the wrong foot, but we were asking him to do, obviously the whole team's being asked to play in this specific way. You weren't sure if it was going to work, but he's come on a lot through that. So Jair Tavares is the really obvious one, but we've spoken about him. But then Marshall as well, and since the Rangers game at Ibrox was maybe a bit questionable, he's been really, really solid. Maybe the Miovski one in the final, the way he came out, maybe that's another one you could maybe have a go at, but you'd have to be really nitpicking there. But I think since he's come in, considering how much he's been asked to do with the ball, Marshall, I mean, he gets on the ball more than most outfield players now. Hibs pass the ball back to the goalie. Fucking loads. And there's loads of stuff. Even when they do the by kicks, he doesn't actually take the by kick. Bashiri passes to him, so it's live in play with him on the ball. So it's a lot for a goalie probably at his age to take on that he probably didn't do before. And then he's obviously plays the flat ball over the top for Boyle. The miss hit is by Robson. Said that cunt says anything, eh? Just said anything. He just said it doesn't matter if it's in the worlds of reality. He just says fair play. Like, he just says anything, just whatever he thinks. Just makes it up. Like the time, he always the ones where he makes up there is playing the most out of everyone. You're not. When you check the time, it's like
I don't realise he called it a miss hit.
No, he did. He called it a miss hit. The pass.
What was he? What did he think Marshall was trying to do? What's he claiming Marshall was trying to do?
Trying to do it loads in the start of the game. It was a feature of the first 15-20 minutes of the match.
Yeah, it kept happening over and over again.
Yeah. So I think that we've tried to do that. And from a house point of view, something I'm liking is that you're seeing again a bit more the evolution of the style and how we can use it, and the fact that with people wanting to come and go man for man because they want to press Hibs because they do the low ones, it gives us the opportunity to go over the top. Where you've got Boyle, it gives more options. And again, like Dundee, teams like Hibs are the ones that you're starting to see like a descendable style, which there hasn't been a lot of in the Scottish Premiership this season. No. And include the old firm in that, where you actually have that sort of identity, and you're starting to see that Hibs, even though there's obviously still parts you could massively improve. And in the second half, Aberdeen, I agreed with Robson on one thing though. It's certainly it's one of the best I've seen them play under him in terms of as a full unit.
Yeah, they were creating loads. It was like loads and loads of chances. Like they started, you started a bit. They started quite poorly. Like Hibs were 1-0 up, and it wasn't just that goal. They had the other opportunities to. Like a couple of kind of half chances, but also just in terms of just having opportunities around about the Aberdeen penalty area, and you just kind of thought, Christ, Aberdeen. I remember thinking about 25 minutes into the game, I was like, Aberdeen are rubbish. Like, can we just actually count them out as contenders for third already? Because they just don't look very good. And then they started to dominate, and then they had like a couple of chances to really score, and then they had a couple more, and then a couple more.
Yeah.
And then Hibs started the second half pretty good. Like, first 10 minutes.
They started both halves well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Aberdeen again dominate for this time for another 50 minutes. You actually put in the group chat, Hibs somebody touched the ball in 50 minutes, and now they're 2-0 up.
When Fish scored the header, I was like, Hibs somebody touched the ball in about 50 minutes.
And I think for this one, it was maybe, I think what Aberdeen are well, I was going to say good at, because maybe good at's a bit of a stretch, because you've got Leighton Clarkson and you've got Graham Shinney, neither of whom have had particularly good campaigns. But I felt the three in the middle for Aberdeen worked very well.
It did. Clarkson had his best game in ages.
Clarkson had his best game in ages, and Shinney had one of his best games of the season. He was always that extra attacker. Like, he was getting forward so much. And yeah, maybe with somebody with a bit more poise on the ball. I didn't do anything too badly, but there was sometimes passes were slightly behind, and like there was a time he kind of drove in the centre and he played it to McGarry. McGarry was free, but Shinney was central, and he could have just had a pop at goal himself. So there was a couple of things that maybe you want somebody who's a bit used to being a forward, but Shinney would just seem to always be the extra man spare when Aberdeen attacked. And I did wonder whether that was the Aberdeen's, like I say, not necessarily a strength this year, but usually what you would consider a strength their team is their centre midfield with the personnel they have in there. And maybe just exploiting the fact that they were going against two Hibs players in the centre, and two guys who aren't very good at tracking a Graham Shinney type.
No, not at all. And Shinney was like having, it was the first time in a while that I'd seen Graham Shinney have the Shinney game where he's in the ref's ear, he's playing right behind him, he's making the fouls that you just don't understand how he's able to make them and not get booked. It is an art form that he has perfected. And he was doing all that, and I was like, really, like with Clarkson as well. I was like, oh, this is what they were signing. This is what they were visualising when they had it. I think there's also a bit of the handbrake may taken off a bit from Robson, because he didn't start this way. He doesn't start any games like this. And I think there's starting to be a realisation from Robson that he's in fucking bother. Like, and then maybe that he can't keep playing the way he does, because this is he'll bemoan this, but in terms of Hibs and Aberdeen have played 3 times, so they're teams that have played the most this season in the league. And the patterns are that in the first 2, so they just weren't interested in touching the ball. And in the first one at Pittodrie, Aberdeen were abysmal when Hibs won 2-0. And that was Hibs' first win of the season. And then in the semi-final, they were rubbish. They didn't take part. And that looked quite deliberate, that they would allow Hibs to sort of dominate a game.
It was driving me fucking mental.
And then this game, they finally do that. And then I've
had to watch Hearts this season, and I've not been as annoyed at a game as I was at that semi-final.
But this one, they played, like you're saying, you're playing Clarkson, you're playing McGrath, you're playing him further back with Eskler and Bielski. They also done this against Rangers when they showed the aggression. They were well on top of them, and they were well in that game. And then they stopped doing it, and it drives you. It's like Alec Miller vibes from kids will be like, who? but you know what I mean, where it's just so negative, and it was interesting to see this Aberdeen. And the problem for Robson is he never got the result. And now it's like, if you've got the board going like that, well, that was the team with the handbrake off. Looked like we could score a shitloads of goals. Maybe someone else would be able to do that, and Aberdeen would be good. So catch-22, he got the performance out of them, a style of performance that he's not got this season, really. And then he didn't get the result that he needed from it. And now it's like, are they going to be willing to keep sticking with it? I would, because it was something there, and the team, again, clearly playing for him. But I'm assuming that guy that was tweeting us about Rubizic doing well in international football won't be back anytime soon. The
guy seems to listen to every podcast just to complain about what we say. Thanks, mate. Keep listening, but I don't know why you are. You seem to hate us.
That's what the point is. So that's what the whole thing is. That's how these things work. But Rubizic had a nightmare and hadn't been particularly good the last couple of weeks. And he was probably at fault for Boyle's goal.
Oh, God,
dead by Miles, because he just evacuates the dance floor.
Sorry, not Boyle's goal. Venti's
goal. And then who you were saying doesn't score enough goals on the telly a day before. It was good. Thank you, Craig.
Somebody was always going to come back and bite me out of that. I named fucking loads of players. Every single player. Clarkson had one of his best games in ages. Tagawa, actually, we'll come on to that soon.
Maybe they were all watching.
Tagawa looked alright as well. Who else did? Ewan was still on the bench.
Sockler.
I saw Close playing.
He still blazed over the bar a couple of times.
It was good to because we recorded the night before, so it was good to say all that and then find out that Pap Gay, because he was one of the players I mentioned, had been taken off at half time.
I mean, he's having the worst. But just before we move on, it was like I thought Aberdeen were quite smart in the way that they tried to isolate Rory Whittaker, obviously 16-year-old. They went down his side a lot with McGarry, and then later on he was having to deal with Duke. And they had Shinnie coming over there, just lots of people coming over to take turns. They were really focusing down that side, as you would going up against things. Hibs also having no alternatives on the bench to really play the role. It was him or nothing. Whittaker I liked because he's really composed on the ball. He's nice when he comes in the field. He looks like he will be quite a modern, especially fullback, in his way of doing it. But he was looking tired towards the end. And then Johnny Hayes comes on, Duke comes on, and they're just going at him. God, like, felt for him. You could see his legs had gone, and there was no option to take him off. And I was like, this child's being bullied, leave him.
But it's all right, because Aberdeen could have played all day and night and not scored.
Exactly, and it was incredible. And obviously David Marshall, huge for him to get that kind of performance and get the fans on side that settles the fans in these moments. I think that's always a huge thing. A bit of trust gets built, and a bit of popularity. And then obviously Bashiri and Fish both played well. I know Aberdeen made chances, but they were having to deal with a lot of stuff, and Fish getting the goal, and then obviously Levitt having a wild game in terms of seeing all the positives of Levitt and all the negatives every 3 or 4 minutes. That's what it was like watching Levitt. When we're on top, great. When you're not on top, not good.
Right, let's move on to our third game that we're going to be discussing. Is that right? Yeah, 3? Yeah. Wait,
this will be the fourth.
Fourth, Jesus Christ, can't even count to 5.
Only five games.
That's what's thrown me off. That's my excuse, and I am sticking to it. Right, this one had 2 goals as well. Rangers 2, St Mirren 0. Both goals from Abdullah Sima, but I think the big talking point for this one is Todd Cantwell.
Back.
He's back. So in the midweek game against Limassol, In the Europa League, very disappointing result for Rangers. If they win that game, they're basically through to the knockout stages. With a draw, it's now kind of looking more likely that they're going to end up in the Conference League. Kind of almost feels a wee bit 6 and 2-3s to me, but
but you've been to the final of the Europa League.
I suppose so
recently.
Yeah,
and this team's not going to get to the final.
Exactly, so they got a better chance to get to the final of the Didier competition. But yeah, Cantwell's taken off in the first half, taken off after 30 minutes. He's absolutely raging about it. And he's right back into the starting 11 for this game. But not only that, he's into the number 10 spot. And it's probably, like, I had a look on Y-Scout. There was a Hibs game, but I think he came off the bench in that, the 4-0. So this is the first time, if Y-Scout's correct, the first time he's played as a number 10 since the PSV game.
Okay.
So that was obviously back in August. So he's
under a different manager.
Yeah, so he's usually been played, he either's played as part of one of the midfield three or one of the front three. And obviously since Clement comes in, he's largely preferred a kind of 4-2-3-1. So that's mainly meant he's kind of
with
been
Lammers
used
as number 10.
Yes, that's mainly meant that Cantwell has either been used quite deep or as a winger. And well, you can see why people might think he's a winger. He's definitely better through the centre.
Absolutely. I think I had this conversation on a pod the last time I was on, is that he's been mistaken for a winger, I think, all the way through his career. And a lot of it's about his look even, and like the way he looks as a player. And obviously just the kind of skill set he has does look like a wide player, but it was proven last season that as an 8, but if I'm going to use these numbers ways that people talk, which I quite like, I don't know why people hate it so much, but it's just an easy way of sort of explaining what style of player you're talking about. Campbell was really, really good. Really good. I liked him in that aggressive way. I probably still prefer him off my... I didn't watch this game, so I'll do it. I still like him as just as part of a midfield three, where he just gets to do...
That's thing, like... Well, I suppose this is a midfield three, if you call that. But, because... and it was kind of like that a bit as well, because it was... I've completely blanked on his name. I've got him on my fantasy team and everything. Tom Lawrence.
Sorry.
Tom Lawrence was the other quote-unquote
rotate quite well.
Quote-unquote defensive midfielder with John Lundstrom. The way it actually panned out was that Tom Lawrence was always like 10 yards ahead of Lundstrom.
Which he should be.
Yeah, like maybe but in
this makes a lot more sense to me as a team.
In the few occasions that St Mirren had the ball in Rangers half, like Lawrence was dropping back alongside Lundstrom, but when they had the ball, which was obviously the majority of the game, he was very much further forward.
I think it's really a 4-1-4-1. That's really what it is, and when I mean like almost a 4 in behind a striker, in an attacking sense.
But Cantwell does tend to drop deep to get involved as well. So it's probably a better way of calling it as 4-1-4-1.
And that allows it. The Lawrence and Cantwell, you think, would dovetail quite nicely in that sense. Is that they probably both don't want to be like out and out number 10, because I think a lot of that like it restricts your movement and you can get really clogged in. But if you've got players where there's 2 years that you can sort of dovetail, move around, swap around, keeping the balance of the team correctly, you think that those two would work really quite well together, and that team can afford to have 2 guys like that in it easily.
So by picking... So he put Cantwell at the number 10. He's got McCausland starting as well. So McCausland was wide right. So it does seem like it was Clement, because he could have done the thing as a manager and been like, right, he's taken off Cantwell. Cantwell's kind of showing him up. Right, that's it. You're on the bench. I'm not even speaking to you. You're dead to me for like until I'm desperately need you again or whatever. Like a manager try to prove a point. You know, letting their pride be hurt. X, Y, and Z. However, to me, this seems like very smart for Clement and shows that. It's a good sign if you're thinking long term. Is this guy going to be a good manager? Is this going to be a guy who can get closer to Celtic or overtake Celtic? Then these are the kind of things you want to see, where he's putting his ego to the side and saying, right, okay, I've got this wrong. I'm going to use Cantwell as a number 10. I'm going to play McCausland out wide for the start, and I'm going to get Sam Lammers to fuck. And he did also... That's
the smallest bit of pride I've ever seen anyone up to the swallow.
For some reason, Sam Lammers had like some sort of... Maybe
he has pictures of Clement with hair.
Maybe that's it. No, instead of blackmail, he's just maybe very good at bigging up managers. He's just like nice, like, oh...
Well, boss, Lammers is a sucker.
Boss, you're smelling great today.
Big absolute fucking sucker.
Have you been working out? You're looking great.
I mean, wouldn't be having a go at Clement a bit anything, to be honest. He's fucking frightening.
So yeah, that worked very well. Like Cantwell was the best player on the park, I thought, and
his pass for the goal, delicious.
Yes, and I thought McCausland played well as well, like very lively, especially early on in this game.
like the way he runs. He's got that one where it looks like he's barely touching the ground. It's really like sprightly.
Yes.
And then, but that's really nice when it comes inside. And again, for a team like Rangers with Tavernier, you think McCausland's really suited because he looks like he likes to come in field. Like that one where Dessers was offside and he came in off the right and he played a little scoot pass, sort of David Silva style thing. And I was like, right, that really works to me because now you'd have Tavernier bombing down the right hand side, and then I think that would give McCausland either the option of the striker in there or reversing it back out wide. You could see, like, you can start understanding the makeup of a team.
Yeah, there's still struggle up front because Danilo's not been playing well recently, so he was dropped. Dessers brought back in. He played exactly as you can. I don't need to tell you. He played like Dessers plays. Yeah. And then even Danilo coming on didn't really do anything late on either. But Rangers still weren't great. Like, St Mirren, I think if you're St Mirren, you're quite pissed off that you lost the goal like that late before half time, and they lose it being a little too aggressive, I would say. I think at that point, especially since they started off the game quite conservative and were just in their shape, and then they kind of grew into it a bit more and started to ask a wee bit of questions. I think Butland made a decent save as well. I kind of blanked on who, Boyd Muntz, I think it was. So you've got yourself set, but it's just before half time. Just make sure that you go in at half time 0-0. Instead, in the build up to the goal, let me see if I get the names right. Yeah, so Tanser pushes on to press. So that leaves a gap at left wing back. Then the ball kind of goes towards that area. Taylor then kind of comes out a centre back to try and put pressure on the ball again. So it means there's a gap between him. And then even then, if you watch the two players like kind of charging back, it's Ryan Flint and Marcus Fraser. And in terms of like picking up Cantwell to pick up, or not Cantwell to pick up like Sima, it's the communication just isn't there. One of them thinks the other one's got it, and there's just all these bits in that goal. You think if this doesn't happen, you go in at 0-0 at half time and you're kind of growing in confidence, and Rangers fans are going to start to get tetchy again because it's not been a great time for them recently. So it's just, again, it just kind of felt like the kind of match where
they were right for the taking.
Well, not necessarily right for the taking, but you get these wee moments. And for St Mirren team, very low in confidence at the moment, like going through a very bad spell, like that could have been huge to get that game to 60 minutes and the crowd starts to really turn. Then it's something that can really kind of turn around form. Like what a huge result that would be just to get a draw.
Nil or whatever at Ibrox.
I think a problem for them as well. One thing I wanted to touch on before we quickly move to the Hearts game is Conor McMenamin. Very impressive at the start of the season, but he's not been playing well recently. He's maybe not helped by the fact that he is. Well, he has been supposedly has played wing back before and can play there. He was playing as part of he was playing as part of a front three earlier in the season. I think maybe with him, I was very impressed at the start because he just kind of looked like one of those players that just makes the right decision all the time, and he's still kind of fairly that kind of guy. But the problem is that he's not really. I think he's maybe just a bit of a limited player. I mean, he did come from Ireland, yeah. So I think he's maybe just seeing the fact that he's just not so much more to his game. And at the start of the season, he looked like he'd be like a very important player for St Mirren all the way through the season. Now he's just kind of looking a bit more just kind of another kind of rotational kind of guy.
But I think I'm taking strain out the team. A guy who can do so much in that other role, and then you've got McMenamin in front of him.
He's out for 3 or 4 months now.
You've got so much to play. If you're McMenamin, you've got so much you can play off, and it takes. You've got less responsibility. You've got someone to bounce the ball off. He's not really particularly quick, McMenamin, so I imagine he's the kind of guy who wants a bit of quality around him. And now he's starting to lack a bit of that. Ayunga's got a qualities definitely, but which like to bounce off. But you've got Strain. Flynn's nowhere near the player Strain is, and that's so you start. More and more responsibility going on a guy's shoulder who maybe doesn't have the full skill set to do it. You want to focus in on what players actually can do rather than having to stretch it and do more. But but Rangers, you've got so many players with Cantwell, Lawrence could score goals. They could have a team where Tavernier, loads of players are able to score goals, but every single one of the strikers has scored. And they scored. So, you know what I mean? It could be like one of those teams where goals could come from anywhere. Yes. Got a fullback who scored, got Cantwell, Lawrence, all for the midfield. Lundstrom can hit a long banger. Seema's chipping him with loads of goals wide.
Shabalazzo's Hearts team, when Christian Nadi been the top goal scorer with 4 goals and Hearts for his third.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? You could have loads, but then you've got 12 million strikers that he's scoring.
Right, let's go to our final game, which was Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 1, with Will Dennis scoring the only goal of the game. The Kilmarnock keeper diverting a Lawrence Shankland cross into his own net in 18 minutes. Hearts have won 4 games in a row, continue to be really quite shite to watch, but one thing I'll say for Stephen Naismith, so the style of football is not there, and certainly not what we saw at the end of last season or what was promised. He does say himself that the style's not there yet, but that's thing that will come in time. When? But he certainly sorted out the defence, because this was a defence at the end of last season was leaking goals for fun. And even at the beginning of this campaign didn't look particularly strong, but that's, in the last 4 games, that's only 1 goal conceded, and that was a penalty. And in the second half for this one, I think Craig Anderson said, he said in the group chat that Hearts deserve to draw and Killie deserve to lose. I don't know, because when you have the lead,
you play a different way.
Yeah, when you have the lead and the onus is on your opponent to try and win the game. Hearts didn't have an awful lot of the territory in the second half, but they looked very comfortable. There was a period. There was a couple of wee periods where Killie had pressure for about 5 minutes. I was thinking, okay, here we go, here's the onslaught. But both of them faded away. And all in all, it was a comfortable 1-0 win. Having gone 1-0 up, there was a couple of chances in the first half after it went 1-0 where Killie scored. Second half, I don't remember them creating a chance.
I'm pretty worried about Kilmarnock now, because I think their results and their stats, even in the last few games, is they just hardly have any shots on target. Not good.
No.
Very simple sort of.
And when Killie are losing games at home as well, that's a worry because they never win away.
Yeah. So, I'd start to get a bit worried about Kilmarnock because they're lacking the goals again. They've got 3 goals against Killie and 2 goals against Aberdeen in a row when things were starting to look better again. But then they got 1 against the Johnstone defeat. They got 1 in their win against Motherwell. Nothing against Hibs. Nothing against Kilmarnock. Nothing against Hearts. That's a problem. And they had Vassell back for this one, so they had Vassell and Watkins back up front, which I'm assuming long term will do a lot more for them. But again, I know the issue. Kyle McGuinness is your connecting player between the midfield and the strike force. You can't, once you've got that, if you build a team that relies on that, which I don't know. Craig Anderson would be miles better to talk about this than I would, but I've not seen them in the last.
But at the same time, looking at that midfield 3, David Watson, Brad Lyons, and Liam Donnelly, right?
Donnelly's pants.
Put Donnelly to the side for a second. Even the other 2, David Watson and Brad Lyons, both had very good seasons. David Watson looks a very good young player.
Definitely.
His main attribute, though, still is running hard.
And tackling.
Yeah. Brad Lyons, working hard in the midfield.
He scored from it.
Liam Donnelly, even scored from it this season. Liam Donnelly, kind of defensive midfielder, apparently. But
that's what you call Dylan Levitt a defensive midfielder.
So what is the and Daba's decent for giving them the shape of the team, the structure is a proper 3. Without him, they kind of struggle. They don't really have somebody else to do that. He's also kind of very quick going down the wing. He's somebody that getting forward, but he's not that creative type like a Kennedy is. So there's just a real lack of creative players in there. And even still,
why not play Kennedy then?
I know they bring Kennedy off the bench for Watson, but Liam Donnelly plays 90 minutes.
I don't know.
They've got Polworth on the bench. Bring him on.
You've got the makeup of I know, but you could use Nabada at left back, couldn't you? As a normal left back.
Yeah.
And then you could use Finlay, Dees, and you could play Mayo as the right back, which, don't get me wrong, which would mean they could still use, they still have 3 big guys back there, and obviously Mayo would tuck in a bit, and then that would allow you to play Armstrong and Kennedy and Vassell as a front 3. And I think it has to get to the stage where it's maybe, I know they don't concede loads of goals, Kilmarnock, but they need to start putting the ball in the net. Would it be that dangerous to do that? You still have Finlay, Dees, and Mayo in the team. You still have Mbada in the team. You just have one. You just don't have Donnelly. and then if you change to a back 4, essentially, that's what would do it. I would allow them to play Kennedy and Armstrong, which is, to me, seems so sensible when McInnes got him in. I was like, right, he's cracked it there. They'll be absolutely fine as long as there's no major injuries. Armstrong, Kennedy, and Vassell under Derek McInnes. That's his front 3. This is his bread and fucking butter. 2 good wingers who are. I know they're not flying, but Armstrong has a good delivery. Kennedy's quick. He's tricky. He's also got a good cross. Vassell have his dinner off that, and they've got Watkins who can come on, who can do some of the running later on in the game. You know, really simple stuff. And then you've got Lyons and Watson in there. I just don't understand why he's insisting on playing the back three. It only makes all it does is make them solid. It totally negates them as an attacking force.
No, certainly at this point in time, they don't really know much more else to say about Hearts.
It was the most guaranteed shit game of the weekend.
Yeah, it certainly was.
And Kilmarnock in that weather as well, freezing cold, with the way Hearts have been playing recently, Hearts haven't been playing great football. They've been getting the result, just like what you talked about. And they absolutely deserve credit for that. But again, even Shanklin and Boyce up front, nobody's going to be going in behind. It's all going to be played in a mishmash between 2-3 at the back teams with no pace.
Yeah, what I would say is that the front two, so I didn't like it. And of the two to drop out, I wouldn't have dropped out Lowry. I would have dropped out Boyce instead and played somebody else up front with pace. What I will say is one of the stronger periods Kelly had in the game was after Boyce went off in the first half, when Oda went up front and Civic went to right wing. Civic came on at right wing back and Oda went up front. And Oda wasn't in the game at all at that point, so the ball didn't stick as much. So Boyce can obviously do that. Like Boyce and Shanklin, you can't get anybody going in behind. So and there's no pace in the team. So it's crap. But at least both of them can make, when you get the ball forward to them, they can keep it away from the opposition team.
Absolutely.
Opposition team, and set your stall out.
Both very good with the back to go.
Yeah, and set your stall high up the park. So that really struggled when Oda went up top, and Kelly ended the first half strong as a result of that. However, Oda started off the second half pretty well, and then Tagawa came on and was similarly quite sharp. So they had it a bit more in the second half, and he also had a different dimension. It's just whether, and this is the problem Hearts have faced all season, it's whether either of those guys or Kenneth Vargas could be counted on every week to do that job. Because otherwise you do have to play Boyce if you're playing with two up top, because the ball keeps coming back, and you kind of almost do have to play with two up top, because Shanklin struggles sometimes when he's one up front by himself, because he can't do everything.
Would there not be something to be said for, because of Boyce and Shanklin being so good at dropping deep, so much good at protecting the ball, so good that we'd allow Hearts to play quite a dominating way? That is what I think. Would it not work maybe doing a 3-4-3 and then allowing the central striker to be an Oda or a Vargas, who's purely just to stretch the teams so they can't play too high? And it means that they can't fucking suffocate the game in there. Yes, you only play with two midfielders, but Boyce is going to drop into there so much.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I suppose it's a split and wide thing that's the issue, because they're going to have to do a lot of running.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got Cochrane, now that he's back, he can do a lot out of that wide area. And then you've just shown that you can play Oda out there, and then you could maybe use like Vargas as the striker or whatever. I mean, you're only using him for a tactical reason. Yeah, and the time's going to come where you're going to be able to sign. I'm assuming all the eggs are going in the quick forward basket. Like, so. Surely, Christ, at Hearts.
Well, I think I'll give Tagawa a run between now. I think he'll get at least a couple of starts between now and January.
And Vargas. There's three guys who you could mould and do it, and you never know, you might find something. I know this is silly because we're talking about a team who's won 4 in the trot, but I mean, it's just the issues that stop Hearts from being able to win by more than like a goal, really, and sort of get away with the team. The problem is going to be for Hibs. It's never wholly convincing. You don't think this is going to go to 7-8. You're thinking when's it going to get beat? Yeah, so you know what I mean. But the difference with the Hibs one is that you can see the formulation of a plan and you can see where that's going. Whereas the Hearts one, they've just got better players and it's just stodgy. So I don't know. It's clearly what Hearts are going to do in the future. So why not just get one of these other guys and see if you can coach them into it right now? And then you've had extra players who could do the role, because what if another guy gets injured in the future? Because it's obviously what you're going to want to do.
Before I finish, there's one more thing I wanted to point out, which was on the defence again. I think Naismith had a wee tweak. Naismith does have these wee tweaks in him that I think are sometimes quite good. Naismith might actually be alright.
Oh, he's fucking said it now. Rob Borthwick smashing his water.
That's me fucked it now though, because we've won 4 in a row. We've got Rangers up next. We've got a terrible run of fixtures. So I've now just said Naismith might be alright, and you know what's going to happen. We're going to lose the next 4 games.
I mean, that works for me. Yeah. One of them Hibs.
So yeah, maybe I take that back. He's still shite. Keep winning. No, but the wee tweak he made was don't really, and I assume this was him telling the defence of this, they were doing a lot of what Kelly used to do to Uche, which was don't engage on the first ball. Like, let him bring it down and then see what he could do for there. Because if you're trying to fight him, he's going to batter you.
And he'll get a turn on you.
And he'll get a turn,
running
yes.
at the defence with a man less.
And they kept Vassell surprisingly quiet throughout this one.
And then Kent's no bad in the air, is he? So he was
Kent's great. Kent's one of the signings of the season.
There we go. See, you can be positive.
There is bits. Do you know the thing with Naismith is that it almost feels like it's almost too late. He's going to have to really start. He's going to have to do something special to get fans on side.
He needs to win at Easter Road, doesn't he?
Yes. If he wins at Easter Road, then actually everything's fine, and people will just go, do you know what, we're wrong.
Sure.
But like I've said a few times, the club just put him off on the worst path ever with this whole fucking ridiculous setup.
Yeah. That's it.
And it's just meant that so many fans are just in the position where you kind of want to be proven right. Like, it's just like, I told you I was right, he's shite. So any defeat, every defeat, like I even spoke to somebody I knew at the pub, bumped into him just randomly on Saturday in Glasgow. He'd come back for the game, and he was still like, 4 wins a trot, I still want him sacked. There's loads of fans like that.
But there's still that scene. You did have to tell it, because Grant, he should be bursting a gut to get in behind. Shankland and Boyce going behind them when they're dropping off. And I don't know if that's happening, but that would be the makeup of the team. To me, I'm just trying, again, when I've been talking about this quite a lot going through this, because I think there's a lot of teams in the league who you've still not really got to December, and we've still not formatted how they play, what their identity is, what makes sense. And there's loads of teams, loads. And I include, as I said, Rangers and Celtic, we're talking about them in the same idea.
Yeah,
but we're just like, I just don't see like what's the coaching bit.
It gives us things to talk about, because it's something that changes every week, pretty much. But it makes the football terrible to watch for the most part.
Because no one's ready yet. Nobody's ready.
It's everybody's like just out of pre-season.
Yeah. But tired. So this is what's making it turgid. And this is like,
and the pitches are now shit.
Yeah, and this is why I'm not being criticising Montgomery so much, even though 1 defeat in 12 on the face of it sounds all right as well. But in terms of the makeup, because I've been like, personally in my head thinking about, I don't talk about this with Hibs fans because I'll just get told to shut up, this kind of stuff, but thinking about everyone, like, at least we're actually trying to manoeuvre into something that makes sense and that he wants, and the team seems to be doing it, and his message get across. Some of it's still frustrating, some of it's still not working, but at least I know that there's a plan trying to be implemented. But watching everyone else like, Dundee again, I'm waxing lyrical about fucking Dundee in a 3-3 draw when they go down to 10, when they're playing against 10 men, because I can see the formula of what they want and it all makes sense to me. Whereas really no other team that it's like that. It's all that they're just chucking darts at the board, or they're too scared to do it, and none of it really makes like sense to me about what they try to become, who they try to be. So that could be, and that's what makes it shit.
Yeah.
Really.
Right, that'll do us. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to hear more from us, there is the Patreon, patreon.com/Terrace Podcast. That is where you could get additional content. You can also sign up for basically get a t-shirt and fanzine at the end of the campaign. You can join the Discord if you're on the £5 a month tier. Oh. That's our own forum we've got where football fans talk about football, but nobody calls anybody a prick.
Oh.
Yet. Well, I'm keeping a close eye on it. First time somebody pulls it out, I'm like, hey, watch yourself.
This is what you're trying to make a safe space.
I'm trying to make it a space where not everybody just, like any social media, just descends at throwing shit at each other.
Well, this is maybe where you could use it. This is where maybe the Discord could be the place to bring fans together, and we can build a movement against ticket prices. This is always the problem, Fowler. I was talking about this in the pub. Is like, the problem here is, yes, because I was thinking, some of my mates said it cost me £36 to go to Hibs Aberdeen. I was like, my fucking God. And that's just a league game. A league game. I mean, 36 quid, and then someone else, if it's going to Parkhead on Wednesday for Hibs, it's 39 quid, and the seats with their shit. 39 quid, and it's just a league game. I mean, we slag off the cup ones enough, in the semis, but at least see that's people just try to take their fucking money when they get the chance. I get it, and I don't agree with it, but I get it. But this is just the bread and butter now. But I'm saying the problem is, can I get everyone in a fucking room together until the fucking shit starts? I was have a picture of it. We need like strong, and we have loads of bairns doing stuff for their clubs, but we can't get them in a room to do that. So to have these types of discussion. Nah. We don't really have. I don't feel like we have really strong sort of football supporters associations anymore at the clubs at all. And that's the only thing. That's the thing you would need to do these types of administrative things, and to get people to do like mass walkouts or anything like that. And everyone would just be called, you're a cunt, you're this, you're that. And that was it. You're this. That's basically what Scottish football is. And we couldn't get anywhere. We wouldn't be able to get out of the fucking starter. We couldn't even get the starting pistol out. maybe the Discord, which is a safe place, is a place where that could happen. Because you're not allowed to slag each other.
Well, how about that for an advert? Patreon.com/podcast.
Ticket prices in Scottish football, give me Fowler money.
Yeah, if you're not interested in joining that revolution, there's also just more podcasts on it. Yeah. We're about to record when we will talk about Scotland's Euro 2024 draw and what we're most looking forward to doing when we go to Germany next summer. So, yeah, like I said.
I'll be darting a bit.
One more thing as well. Well, there's two more things. One, please, if you haven't yet, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and like our videos when they go up. If you like to see any of us do it in person. I also, when it's podcasts like this, when it's myself and, well, not just when it's myself and Tony, when it's doing the weekend's games, cut them up into each. So even if you've listened to this podcast and you think, oh, I wonder, there was that bit they talked about during the Rangers game, and I'd like to see them talk about that because I want to see how animated they actually get.
Well, I talk about hands.
Yeah, Tony certainly gets animated, so that's a reason to see that. So that's a YouTube channel.
Seasick watching it.
So just like most stuff was, just search for Terrace Podcast. And finally, I've not done this in a while. We usually do this in little bursts through the years, but it is generally a lot of other podcasts do it, so it's probably important. Give us a 5-star rating. On whatever app you use, because I know
please, sir.
Well, it's kind of the more 5-star ratings you have, the more you go higher up. So when people are just searching for football podcasts, that more chances of us being up there.
You've been doing your research here, Fowler.
Well, that's just kind of assuming that, to be honest. But also notice, just looking at us on Spotify, like we had like 250 votes and like 4.8 out of 5, and I was like, oh, thanks very much, all those people who rated. I never asked you to, but maybe I should start now asking people.
Why not? People want to support us. People do the Patreon.
Yes, exactly.
We have a lot of people who dislike us. I'm very certain.
Oh God,
like very certain of that. People think we're middle class from Edinburgh. I'm a scaff.
I've rarely said that tweets there. I sent one on Saturday and I finished it off by saying Frankie Kent for MVP, and then somebody was like, MVP, like man of the match, you hipster tube. It's like, fucking hell. Get abuse for saying Frankie Kent's very good.
Mate, that's just the world we live in now. Everyone hates each other and everyone hates the language you use, and if you use your Americanisms you will be told off.
Yeah, well, yeah, apparently so.
But yeah, money. Cheers.
5-star ratings and money, please. Goodbye.